I read somewhere, too, because I was actually sort of researching the history of what we do and what the precursors were. And I guess there were audio blogs and stuff that some really high-tech types were pursuing in the 90s also, maybe even the late 80s, where, they're like sending full files to each other or something. But, it's funny because somebody's going to write a book someday about the history of this and how it got started and all that kind of stuff. And it's crazy to think about that we're actually due to sort of a serendipity, good timing sense, that here we are, like I said, in the first 10 years, 15 years of what's not just going to be a phenomenon, but it's going to be a huge part, I think, of the future world that people grow up in. Not our show specifically, but this world we're creating. I mean, everyone's a broadcaster now.
Yeah, and look, anyone could have been. I mean, there's been a lot of barriers to keep people that are really talented, interesting, funny people from getting their stuff out there. And that thing was always they didn't know how to start. How do I become a stand-up comedian? I've talked to so many funny guys, and they just go, well, how do I get started? I'm like, well, you got to go sign up at an open mic night. And it just seems too much. And the idea of it is too daunting. But if you just sit in front of a camera, that's all you have to do. Turn your cell phone on and start talking. Here's what I think about Donald Trump. This is what I think about Harvey Weinstein. All you have to do is have a unique take, be funny, be interesting, somehow engaging. And it doesn't even have to be visual. I mean, God, there's 100, maybe more, really funny, what I would call Twitter comedians that just say funny shit. They write funny shit on Twitter, and they have huge followings because of it.
I always say, you try to look at what the brick and mortar analog version of this was before this came around. Remember MC Hammer was selling, cassette tapes of his music out of his hatchback at the Oakland A's games, or I think of Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, these people who are they're so funny that you could put them on a crappily recorded cassette tape and it wouldn't make any difference. And I remember Eddie Murphy saying something about if he hadn't gotten on Saturday Night Live, he doesn't know how he would have exposed himself to the public. Well, these days, if you're that funny and you put that on audio and you put it out there, you no longer need the facilitator, the gatekeeper to open the doors for you. You have a wide open mic. You called it open mic night. Mm-hmm. This is open mic night for the world, right?
Yeah.
Every country.
It's fucking crazy. There's some kid who's 20 years old who bought a house in my neighborhood for $9 million or $7 million. $7 million. Some fucking YouTube kid. I was reading about it today. I went, what? He's 20. He bought a $7 million fucking house. I was like, this is insane. Don't even pull it up. Enough of him.
No, I was at YouTube. I was at YouTube about a month ago. I did a speaking engagement at Google, and across the street in New York, above the Camden Market, they own the whole building. So they take me up there. I get this 6-hour tour, and at one point they have a wall with all these YouTube stars on it. And I'm old, so there's one or two. So I go, okay, that's Lady Gaga, I guess. And then but there's a bunch of 20-year-olds, and they're going, oh, this guy has a bazillion followers, and I'm looking at him going, really? I mean, at his age, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I was taking a year off college or something, but it's all these kids with multiple piercings and tattoos and face stuff. And they're all, the Google people were telling me, oh, these people are all huge.
Giants.
Yeah, come in with their entourages. And
that's crazy. Yeah. Some kid just died. He was 21. He had all his face tattoos. And I was like, who the fuck is this kid? Well, he's a giant YouTube star. Some YouTube rap star. Yeah, did you know who he was?
I've heard the name. I didn't know who he was. So.
See, you're young, Jamie, but you're actually old to all these young fucks.
Whoa, hey, calm down.
How old are you?
34.
That's old to these
Never
young
trust
fucks.
anybody over 30. Wasn't that the line?
Yeah, that was back in the day, right?
Yes. But the 30s, 40s, the new 30s, so everything
I'm 50,
changes.
so what the fuck am I? Dirt. Old like dirt.
Still at the top of the iceberg, though, doing the ahead of the game, ahead of everybody.
This whole thing, what we're experiencing now, I think, is the top of the iceberg, because I think there's some shit that's coming down the pipe that is going to blow all this out of the water. And the idea of just listening to things is going to be ridiculous. It's going to be so surface. I really believe, like what you were saying about some sort of a Matrix plug-in. My friend Duncan has one of those HTC Vives. Have you ever seen those?
You mean virtual reality? Yeah.
You put the helmet on.
I have one.
Do you have one of those?
Yeah, well, part of the gig I'm working on. Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about it? Huh?
They sent it to me. They sent it to me. And I'll tell you what's cool. I didn't want to interrupt your show. You go ahead. But I'll tell you what's cool. Ahead. Well, Google Earth is on the virtual reality thing, right? And they just started it. They just put out a new. I think it's a new update. Don't quote. I'm old, so don't quote me on this. But the update allows you now to zoom in at the ground level.
Yeah.
Now it's not virtual reality at the ground level. It's more like you're in the photograph. But it's really cool. It was just a week ago. I went to all the homes I grew grew up in as a kid.
Whoa,
and
look
went
at
back
this.
there.
Jamie's pulling it up.
Okay, so this is how it always looked even like a year ago, but now you can zoom into the ground and there's people around you at all these.
Oh, my God.
It's truly awesome, I have to say.
This is insane.
Yeah, and it's only going to be better. They'll actually at some point have real virtual reality on the ground anywhere you want to go.
This is insane. Well, that's what I think is going to come up next. I think we're going to have it set up where, like this podcast, you'll be able to put on some goggles like this lady is wearing here. You're going to be able to put up some goggles. And you're going to be in this room with us. You'll be behind me. You'll be staring at my butt. You'll do whatever the fuck you want. You'll be in the room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you will. It'll be like a sim game, but you're in it.
That's coming, man. This whole thing is going to feel so 2D and flat and archaic in just a decade or so.
Yeah, everybody's waiting though for the big. See, it's funny how you wait for, you know, you know how technology is adopted, right? You don't buy the computer just to have the computer. Some new game or some new ability comes. You go, oh, I got to do that. Well, I guess I need a computer for that. Everybody's waiting for that in the virtual reality realm too. What's the must-have thing that then next Christmas everybody's got to have the virtual reality set up under the tree for? You know.
Well, I think one of the things that's setting Android ahead of the curve in terms of like Android versus Apple is that these Android phones, they slide into these headsets now and they act as virtual reality screens.
Like a low-level one, yeah.
Yeah, but not that bad, man.
No.
Not that bad
I haven't
anymore.
seen it, but you know, they told me, again, that
the overlords?
Yes, the overlords. I understand they're mushroom overlords. That's what I heard earlier. But no, that they were telling me that the iPhones from Apple also are built for that capability. They just haven't introduced the add-ons that you would need. But in terms of the power that they put in there, they built it for that, so it can scale up eventually.
Yeah, he just pulled it up.
I could be talking out of my rear right there.
No, you got it right there. Okay. Apple reportedly readying standalone AR, which is augmented reality headset for 2019. Well, hey, fuckface, that's a year and a half away from now, you fucking assholes.
When is this going to hit? See, that's what no one knows, and everybody's afraid to put money forward and be too early, like you were just talking about.
Hold on, look at this. The device would run ROS, Apple's reality operating system. See, that's the fucking Matrix, man. This is what everybody was worried about with Google, that Google was Skynet. Google has your email. Google, like some people were using Google Voice. People use Google Maps. There's so much now that you're connected to with this one company. If they come out with some crazy augmented reality thing, and then you like tap into that as well.
But everybody wants you in their environment, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants you in the closed environment. So it's funny how the old AOL model is similar now to what they still. Facebook never wants you to have to leave Facebook. Google wants you to be Googled all the time.
Apple, they keep you with the iMessage. I tried switching over to a Google Pixel about a year ago for 2 days. It was so bad, like trying to get people to message me. Like I would text people, did you get it? No. Did you get it? No. Send me a text. I didn't get it. Fuck. And I'd be calling them back. Did you send it? Yeah. I didn't get it. It says I sent it. Okay, hold on. I'm going to send you one. Tell me when you get it. You didn't get it? Did you get it? No. Fuck! So what do you got to do? So then I go online. You have to go to the Apple iMessage servers and have your email removed. Okay, I go and do that. Nothing. I was like, fuck this. And then I talk to people online. I'm like, what's the best way to do this? They go, you got to change your number. I go, what? So if you want to try to use an Android phone, you have to change your phone number. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I went right back to Apple. I was like, I don't have time for this. This is too much noodling around.
I know. One problem with a password these days can occupy your whole day trying to figure out the problem. So, I had it with the email. I didn't know Yahoo Mail was down. So I'm thinking it's my problem. So I'm spending the whole day working on it. I'm changing passwords. Find out at the end of the day, no, Yahoo was just down. All those passwords, you didn't have to do any of that. And it screwed up everything that you had before. And I'm 51. That's what happens when you get old.
Well, I got a MacBook, and I got a phone call on my book.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, what is this bullshit? I updated something, and all of a sudden my laptop started ringing. I'm like, no. We're not doing this.
No.
We're not doing this.
I have to ask my
work.
children. I'm at the point now where I'm literally asking my teenage children for help. And that to me is a sign right there. It's the first sign that eventually leads you into that home that they put you in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the first step towards my children going, oh my God, my father.
You know what's bizarre, man? My kids, they just figure shit out. Like if you give a kid, it's amazing how intuitive some of these app creators are.
Absolutely.
Because my 9-year-old, she started making these little movies. She's got this little editing thing on her iPad.
My 12-year-old does it too.
So she's filming little scenes. She splices them all together, and then she adds music and text to it. And then she goes, Daddy, you want to see the movie I made? I went, what? What do you... fuck are you doing?
And it's
over
good.
Here?
And it's good.
It's weird.
You know what though? I mean, from a creative standpoint, it's so easy, and I tend to have a personality that does this anyway, to look at the negative, dystopian, things that can happen, the Big Brother things, which is totally the way I see the world. But my kids, when I look at the creativity. So in my family, I come from a family of people who worked in film. And so when I was a kid, I had a Super 8 camera. I had the old editing setup.
Damn.
I used to splice it I used to make little space videos, and I figured out you scratch the film with a needle frame after frame, and you can make laser beams. And so when I was a kid, I did that. So like you said, my daughter comes up, it was only 2 weeks ago, and she's taken all of her school plays that she's done. She's taken scenes out of them. She's backed it with music, and she's turned it into like a movie promo that you see at the beginning of the theater.
Oh, wow.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, this is so dang creative. And it's made, how hard it would have been for her to get a Super 8 camera and the editing device. This makes it available to all these people. And so theoretically, if it doesn't go the Dan Carlin dystopian Blade Runner way, it could easily be like this. And this is how I used to sell the amateur content to the venture capitalists in the 90s by saying it's going to be a creativity revolution. And Joe Rogan's 9-year-old is already taking part in it. And you're not even sure how she did it. That's how we know
I have no idea. I watched her do it. I'm like, how are you doing this? Who taught you to do this? She goes, I figured it out. I go, you figured it out? You just figured it out? She goes, yeah, you just put this and then you do that. Blah, 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 blah. She's like, you want to do one? Let's do one. Like you could do them fast and slow-mo and all those different little effects you could put on it. Do you remember the old days when you have 2 VHS tapes?
Yes.
Two boxes, and you would press one on record and the other one on play,
yes.
and you would record from each other?
Yes, and it worked about 50% of the time.
Sort of. It was like the cuts were so obvious. Like... the cuts of scenes, it was never seamless. There was always like this big fucking digital fuzz in between the scenes.
But this gets back to something that you and I were talking about when we first started here. So it's what the technology can do. So like if you're out there, you're going to hear me talk about this now. This may be a personal one-to-one conversation with someone in your audience. But somebody did something that is both flattering and absolutely terrifying to me recently. They went... And they said it took hundreds of hours, and they culled a ton of my shows, and they made little clips of all the things I said, and then rearranged them and created an absolutely new show about politics, unfortunately, with me. And you cannot tell that they've cut this thing 9,000 different times, but it's my voice saying a whole show of political stuff that I never said. Made up of, the guy said it took him hundreds of hours.
Oh, he's crazy.
But you turn around and you go, okay, somebody's going to take a little time. He said at the beginning, this is not Dan Carlin really saying this, but some guy's going to take like some obscure, weird segment, put it on the internet, and I'm going to be chasing, that group going, no, it's not me. That guy did it.
Well, you don't even have to do that anymore if it's just audio. What they're doing now is you could take 40 hours of audio, which obviously you and I both have way more than that. They take that 40 hours of audio and they can essentially have you say anything. Anything ever.
So is that going to get us out of... this is the conversation we had. So can you say to somebody when they say, I heard Dan Carlin say he's all for child molesting on this clip, can you say, hey, that's not me, and look, there's all this stuff out there. I mean, is that going to get you out of trouble, or is CNN going to run that story and you'll never be able to whack-a-mole your way out of it?
Once they understand that technology is available, they're going to have to be at least questioning the source of it. But if they don't, you just sue the shit out of them. But I don't think they're going to jump on it. It's sort of like photoshopping.
It is like photoshopping.
Do you remember when Oscar de la Hoya got caught wearing fishnets and high-heeled shoes with boxing gloves on? He was coked up and he was hanging around with some crazy Russian strippers, and he was having a good old time and just thought it was fun to dress up like a girl. And I thought it's funny, but he was very deeply embarrassed by it. Obviously, he's Mexican, so Latino boxing fans were not taking very kindly to that. So he just said, look, that shit's fake. It's been photoshopped.
Perfect.
Yeah, look at it. There he is. Look.
How do we know that's Oscar de la Hoya?
He's having a good time. He's wearing a wig in one of them and a hat.
All I ever think about is the left hook to the liver that Bernard Hopkins hit him with to put him down on the deck. And
I think about him beating up Julio Cesar Chavez, where all the Mexicans were mad at him.
Past his prime.
Is that the girl that he was with? Go above that. The 2 pictures with him and the girl. Yeah. Is that the girl that turned him in? Keep an eye on that bitch. If you're going to get a lap dance, she's going to tell people. So I guess that's her right there. I guess
that looks photoshopped, doesn't it?
It looks sort of photoshopped, but not really, because it's his body. I mean, it's obviously an athlete's body, but he's wearing a skirt and look, they were partying. He's having a good fucking time. He thought it was silly to play dress up. What the fuck? You mean, look at the one in the upper right though when he's bending over. Look at that one. That one's rough.
So wait a minute. So could you see? It almost seems to me now it's the perfect cover because now you could do anything you wanted to. I mean, if it's the Clinton years in office and Bill Clinton's, you could do anything you wanted to. Just it's photoshopped. That's not me.
You kind of can, but they can tell. They can